Welcome to JDM Legends, presented by Turn 14 Distribution, where today we're going deep cleaning in the engine bay and on that engine, and we're gonna bust out a new tool to show you how we can make some aluminum parts look better than new. It's a new day here at the shop, and this is a new engine bay, man. Look at how clean this is, PT. It turned out really nice.
Yeah, the aluminum cleaned up so well.
Yeah, that aluminum subframe looks new again. Even the master cylinder looks good. The ABS unit looks great. So you gotta love JDM cars, man. There's just no rust in here. All the fasteners all look remarkably clean. It's gonna be such a pleasure to work on this car. So the plan now is to get to work on that engine. We are going to give it a proper cleanup, strip all the stuff off there that we can vapor hone, and maybe paint the block. But before we do that, let's pull the gearbox off there and have a look at that iffy clutch, because we know that thing was done. We pulled all the bolts from the transmission and started to shake it off, and then it dawned on us, wait a minute, maybe this is a pull type transmission. We need to release the fork from the release bearing. Sure enough, quick Google says it is a pull type. However, looking up into the service opening here, there's no clear way to get to the fork and bearing. So luckily we have the factory service manual, went to that, had a look, and unlike any transmission we've ever worked on before, you actually have to remove the pressure plate bolts from the pressure plate, and then the transmission comes up, I assume, with the whole pressure plate attached to it. So very unusual. We did a quick Google, and that seems to be the way everyone else does it. It's in the service manual, so we're gonna do that, and it'll be a first for us here. Oh, there it goes.
Stop.
A little more? Yeah, that's good there.
This is a terrible design.
Oh, yeah. Well, that was a bit of a struggle, but we did eventually get it off. The biggest problem seemed to be the way the pressure plate was stuck on the dowel pins on the flywheel, but a little pry bar action and she's free. And as you can see, this clutch is trashed. I think the previous owner did admit to like trying to do a heinous burnout or something, and he just like melted the clutch.
Yeah, like that area. Look at that side right there.
Inner ring there is
just
completely
right
roasted.
gone.
But even like the main friction area out here looks like it was pretty worn out. So,
which is usually what happens. Like a clutch is close to the end of its wear life. Someone decides to do a burnout, and that is the result right here.
Game over. So now we figure out how to get the pressure plate out of here. Hitting another interesting snag in removing the pressure plate. We thought it would just sort of slide off, but no, there's a snap ring that holds the sort of center bearing here to the pressure plate. So we've got to pull the snap ring out, and then it should release. So you can see, already got the snap ring started here. So if I work my way around, I should be able to pop that guy out. Bam! Look at that.
Wow, that's convoluted, man. That is not a win for Toyota, in my opinion.
That is a very strange arrangement, but it's good to 1500 horsepower, PT, so don't get too picky on me, buddy. Before we take the flywheel off, we want to remove the crank pulley, and to do that, we are using these high mass OEM tools sockets, and you can see, like, look how beefy the construction of this thing is, and it's got so much mass in it, it should help sort of like shock this thing loose. So
and we do have Milwaukee's best here.
we do. This thing has, I think it's rated to like 1,100 foot-pounds of torque for removing bolts. It should do the job.
But before we hit it, we should mention that we don't have anything holding the flywheel right now, so
Right.
it may move, and that's going to be the whole problem with this if it doesn't come off, right?
Yep. So let's hit it and see what happens here. You ready?
Yep. Oh, yes.
Look at that.
The bolt that everyone struggles it with, the Milwaukee did it with that OEM tool socket. Bam.
Beautiful. As we discovered on Pete's 2JZM3, everything here leaks. There's gaskets everywhere and they all need to be replaced. So this, you can see there's a bunch of coolant buildup here. It's because this pipe has an O-ring on the inside of it that is now hard as a rock and kind of useless. So I'm pretty sure that's why that's leaking. So we'll re-O-ring both of those. New gasket here. And this O-ring here on the block looks like it is done too. So
it's amazing it wasn't leaking. Like, look at that thing.
Yeah, it's pretty badly corroded, isn't it? So we actually just ordered one up. So we should have one in a day. Just having a quick look at our timing belt here, and I don't think it was done anytime recently. It's in okay condition. It's not like completely cracking and failing the way I've seen some Honda ones go bad, but there's no reason to not change this out while we've got all this off here. So obviously we will have a better solution than that guy to go on there. We've got a better solution for the crank pulley. So I think now it's time we maybe plug up some holes, PT, and get ready to power wash this thing. All right, 2J's on the stand, and we have plugged up all the holes with Pete's amazing collection of tiny butt plugs. So it is time to give this thing a good power wash and a scrub and just see how clean we can really get it. Well, after a good round of spraying it with cleaner and scrubbing it and power washing it and spraying it with more cleaner and washing it again, it is looking pretty darn good. I mean, the aluminum parts clean up remarkably well. There's still a little, bit grime here and there that I could go at more aggressively with a toothbrush and spend hours of my life making it perfect. I just don't know if that's...
We don't got the time, DP.
I don't think that's really what we do.
Gotta get these
here.
projects done.
As you can see, the gearbox does look much better, but it still has like lots of deep grime in here that did not come off with aggressive cleaners and scrubbing and power washing with hot water. I don't know how you would get this perfect. Pete, you were suggesting it would have to go into like a hot water parts washer, like at a machine shop or somewhere like that. Or we could vapor hone it, but then we'd have to fully disassemble it. So that ain't happening. Again, it's just too time consuming. Here's our lower intake manifold, and as you can see, this thing is pretty filthy. Not sure how it got that dirty, but there's a lot of oily vapor inside them too. And I'm gonna start by giving it a cleanup in your typical like enthusiast parts cleaner here. It's got your chemical solution in there. I'm gonna give it a good scrub in here. We'll show you how clean I can get it using this, and then we'll graduate over to the vapor honer and show you what the next level of clean really looks like. So there's my best effort using the parts washer, and I did rinse it off afterwards with water, so don't panic that this is all chemicals dropping on the floor. And as you can see, like the clean side, which was already quite clean, looks good. There's imperfections in it though, and there's lots of spots where it could look better. And as you come around to this dirty side, you can see that there's still lots of like, deep staining or grime or oil in it that didn't come out. There's some down in here. And I could spend more time in the parts washer like really chasing that stuff, but it's never going to be perfect. So if you want to like really refinish something like this into as good, if not better than new condition, then you really need something like this. This is our Vapor Honing Technologies Weekend Warrior. And much like a blast cabinet, you put your part inside here and then you blast it with a slurry mixture of a media, like in our case, it's predominantly glass bead. Bead is a bit deceptive though, isn't it, Pete? It's more like a sand, like almost like a powder.
Yeah,
it's very,
it does
very
feel
fine.
very fine.
Mixed with water, and we also put a little bit of, what was the
aluminum oxide?
Aluminum oxide, I think,
yes.
Yeah. And you'll be amazed at the finish we're able to put on this thing. It does take some time. It's not like sandblasting something where, clean it off in 5 seconds. It's gonna take some time to make it look its best, but I'll put in 15, 20 minutes here and make this look as good as I can, and we'll show you the results.
Well, we really can't show you much. It's kind of hard to see in there, but I think people get the gist of it, right?
Yeah, I'm blasting things with more things, and it's already looking better, so might not take me as long as I thought. And there is our lower intake manifold after about, what would you say, Pete, 15 minutes of
I think
vapor
so,
honing?
yeah, probably around 15 minutes.
And this is the top side, so the more visible side of the two. And it looks so much cleaner. It's kind of remarkable. And it also gives it like a higher shine finish. It is literally honing, or like you could say polishing the surface rather than being destructive. This is a very gentle way of cleaning parts. And you can see there's still like some little bits in here that I could do a better job of in these little tiny valleys. So I might throw it back in there for a second to like chase perfection in here, since this is the top side of the manifold. On the bottom side, it still looks so much better. It's kind of mind-blowing, but you can see that there's still some like unevenness in the finish here. And the more I work that with the vapor honer, the more that unevenness will go away and it'll look much more uniform and higher shine. But I mean, God, like look at the threads on this thing. They're like brand new. It's kind of staggering what you can do with one of these machines, but it's not an insignificant investment both in time and money. This Weekend Warrior, I believe, is the most affordable vapor honer money can buy right now. It is made in the USA. I believe they're out of North Carolina. Awesome company, by the way. They were super easy to deal with when we called them to order it. They gave us a ton of good information, and then we called with some tech questions. I can certainly recommend Vapor Honing Technologies. It seemed like a great company. It's nice to buy a product that's designed and made in the USA and does this nice a job. So really stoked on this, man. I think we're gonna have a lot of fun cleaning up parts with this machine over the coming months and years. This is interesting. Pete gave me this little bracket that he did clean up in the parts cleaner. You can see how dirty it still is. And then literally 2 minutes later in the vapor honer, it looks so much better. So even for just like a quick cleanup, you can make a huge impact on these.
Yeah, I certainly think it depends on the level of like grime and whether it's corrosion. Almost like corrosion.
Yeah,
and corrosion takes a lot longer, where this thing looks like it didn't have that. It's just grime and it cleaned up so nice, man.
Really nice. Well, I'm a vapor hone boy for life now, because look at how good this stuff turned out. And these are like high visibility parts up at the top of the motor. Obviously the intake manifolds are something that your eye is going to be drawn to, and it looks incredible. It's kind of amazing how it not only cleans it, but it gives it like it changes the finish a little, doesn't it? I guess that's what honing does.
Yeah, it gives it kind of like a shine almost.
Gives it a shine, yeah. It's really pretty remarkable. And I spent quite a lot of time on the intake manifold because it's a complex one and it was quite dirty, but it cleaned up really, really well. Lower manifold cleaned up nicely too. Water neck looks amazing. Some of the parts we did not vapor hone because we didn't want to get the media or the grit into areas of like the throttle body. It's going to get in everywhere and it's going to cause the throttle plate to stick. So we just cleaned this in the parts cleaner and gave it a bit of a scrub. And I mean, you can see it looks good. It doesn't look vapor hone good, but it still looks pretty darn good. So
yeah, my OCD's tweaking a little bit there, and I guess the option would be to spray paint it, but at the same time, it's like, you know what? Once we get it on the car, I don't think it's going to be
exactly.
You're
going to have stuff on here. It's not really going to draw your eye, I don't think. The starter was actually really disgustingly dirty, and I just cleaned this in the parts cleaner, and it did clean up remarkably well, just with a good scrubbing and even like a Scotch-Brite type of pad in the cleaner. So there's our Pour 15 engine enamel, and the reason we decided to use this rather than say like a spray bomb engine paint is this is a brushed on product, so it just gives you good control. You can control how much goes on and where it goes on, where if we were going to rattle can it, we'd have to tape everything off. It feels like more work to me than to tape everything off than to be able to come in with this and brush it on. And having used Pour 15's products before, we find them to be extremely high quality, really durable. There's some prep involved, so we've already obviously cleaned and degreased the block, but I am going to scuff it quickly with like a 3M type pad, just to give it a bit of a rougher surface to help this stuff adhere properly. Well, there you have it. Pour 15 applied, and it's looking good. It's a bit of a laborious job. You have to take your time or you're gonna make a big mess, and this stuff will run on you, so you do want to come in afterwards with the brush and kind of like wipe away any runs before it dries, or it's gonna have a dried run in it. But I mean, realistically, this is just to make it look pretty. Once everything goes back on here, you're never gonna see it again. But we are, however, going to fix any source of oil that will get onto this. in the next episode, because this one is wrapped up, everyone. Thank you very much for watching. And in the next one, you will see us change out a bunch of seals, do a bunch of service to this motor to make sure it is really in tip-top condition before we start bolting up all the shiny good stuff and chase those super response monster setup that we're going for. So hope you enjoyed seeing all that vapor honing, all that scrubbing, all that painting and cleaning, because I don't know about you, but I'm pumped how good this thing's looking. I can't wait to get it back in the car.
Flywheels on.